sometimes we do still need to come together and learn from each other and even have meetings together. So the essence of all those moments were what resulted. And we said, okay, how do we pick up those pieces of gold and put it together into one, essentially like a CMS, but we're calling it a marketplace. That's where we're pivoting. We're pivoting from doing these online events that really brought all this great stuff together and bringing community together. And now we've really focused on the essence of why communities want to connect, which is for that whole exchange.
This is Associations Thrive, the podcast celebrating successful associations and their leaders. I'm your host, Joanna Pineda, CEO and Chief Troublemaker at Matrix Group International. Listen in as top association executives tell all, revealing the creative and innovative ways they're increasing membership, generating revenue, nurturing engagement, and reimagining their organizations. By the way, if you've launched a new initiative, created new member services, or updated your governance structure and are seeing great results, I want to hear your story, and so do my listeners. I'd love to have you as a guest. Go to podcast.matrixgroup.net and apply to be on Associations Thrive. Now let's dive into this week's show. Today, I'm speaking with Sandra Nam, co-founder and CEO of Qiqo Chat. Sandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Joanna. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, Sandra, tell us about Qiqo Chat, and you have to start with where the name comes from.
Oh, fun. Yes. So Qiqo stands for quality in, quality out.
Ah.
Yeah, isn't that fun? So where it came from is it's such actually a geeky history. If you're a coder or a software engineer, you are familiar with the term garbage in, garbage out.
GIGO, yes.
Yes. So simply, it's the opposite. And the hypothesis or the belief is that if you put quality in to a community, an event, a conversation, you're going to get quality out. So that's what Qiqo stands for.
I love it. So tell us what Qiqo Chat does.
So Qiqo provides online events, and it's a community platform to bring people together in many different formats, bring people together in interactive ways and in colorful ways, I should also say. And that's what is our DNA, where we started. As of recent, however, we've pivoted slightly, where we've taken the essence of what we do, which is bringing people together, and specifically for trade associations and communities and nonprofit organizations. And we're turning our platform into a robust marketplace where a lot of members within an association or within an organization who have diverse needs, they can come together on a community platform, but really more for an exchange of recommendations, needs and offers, and information.
All right. Well, you just shared a whole lot of information there, including what you started with, where you are now, and how you got there. So let's start at the beginning. You started the company 11, 12 years ago. Let's transition to your journey. Tell us about that. Why'd you decide to start Qiqo?
Qiqo was actually a side project way back when. It was like one of those things that my CTO and co-founder was doing late at nights, after hours, doing random things.
And what was it that he was doing late at night?
Yeah. He was building Qiqo. He was building the essence of bringing people together online. Believe it or not, before, folks knew about Zoom in 2020, this is Lucas, I'm referring to Lucas Cioffi, who's our co-founder, was tinkering around with video chat tools, audio tools, before folks knew about Zoom, before folks knew about Twilio. There used to be an audio version on Twilio. And just testing out how to get people together. I actually used the platform really early days to get together with colleagues in my industry when I was a full-time practicing landscape architect, to study for my LAREs, which are the exams, the licensure exams. So that's how I passed, because I found people online and we connected and practiced tests together. So the early days of Qiqo is all about creating a platform for people to come together to help each other out, whether it be through audio or video. And that side project turned into a full-time gig in 2020.
So initially it started out as chat and video rooms.
Yeah,
So kind of like Discord.
exactly. Kind of like Discord, but just purely ways to take notes together, ways to do practice tests together, whatever it was our need was. But we needed to connect either through audio or video with just people all over. And yeah, that was the technology in the early days.
So you were a practicing landscape architect and you said, wow, we need to build something. Had you started a business before? Because it's a leap to start a company and start something new.
Yeah. Oh, Joanna, we never thought to actually build a business or to start a business for the sake of, building some company. This was, again, just a side project. There were a couple of needs that we were trying to address. And I was kind of the first user, I would say, the first super user to help test the product, to say, hey, I kind of need this to happen. I need that to happen. Can you design it like this? So I was really working with my CTO to say, I say CTO, but at the time, we're just like two.
Your friend who was developing this for you.
Yeah, we're just like hanging out. And I'm like, well, I kind of want this to happen. I need to take some notes. We need to do flashcards, so we can make sure we can like pass this test together.
So you were doing this to help you pass the test and ultimately become a landscape architect.
Yeah.
Was the intention to sell this?
No, not at all. It was just like this tool that we built. The first use case was for me to help study for these tests, but I'm sure there were other use cases that we could have experimented with to connect with other folks from different states or wherever. But I happened to be the first power user to kind of go, you know what? I need to find people who are also studying for these exams, but they're not necessarily the ones that I'm working with because we're all at different stages in our career. So that's how I found people, either through Google Groups. Like that's how I found my first colleagues or friends to connect with, is being like, hey, you guys want to study together and test out this platform? And it was actually really successful.
Okay, so then how does that turn into a business?
Yes. Oh gosh. So that was what, in like 2015, that era. So when 2020 hit, of course, the big pandemic hit, everything shut down. And suddenly we were actually getting calls from folks in our network, primarily facilitators who convene people and convene organizations. We were getting calls being like, hey, don't you have this platform to connect people online? And we're like, yeah, we do. And again, at the time, we were really early adopters of Zoom, and we could just daisy chain all these Zoom meetings together in creative ways. We were an early Zoom API partner. So that's really what took off. That's when this idea or this project became a business. And we decided, you know what, this is an opportunity. Let's go with it. And here we are.
So you made the decision to go full-time entrepreneur and co-found the company with Lucas.
Yes.
What's that journey like mentally?
I think every entrepreneur might say this. Most of them won't. You don't necessarily go in on it thinking, oh, I'm so excited to be this entrepreneur founder, because it is hard. It's so hard. There's so many unexpected challenges. You don't necessarily have a roadmap in front of you. There's nothing. There's no instruction saying, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to figure out. And this is why you're doing it. So I don't think I ever anticipated doing what I set out to do. But in hindsight, I go, I'm so glad I did. I can't imagine it any other way.
Oh, I feel the same way. I've been in business 25 years at this point, and
Wow.
I still remember the first year. It was really hard. And then you weren't sure if you were going to survive the first year, and you're never sure if you're going to survive the second year or the third year. And then you just keep going, and then you make changes along the way. And then all of a sudden you're 25 years old. It's pretty amazing. So Sandra, what was the pandemic like for you? What kind of events were you putting on?
Those years were fun, crazy.
Ooh, that's a really good way to talk about it, because I would describe that the same way, because we had a virtual conference platform as well.
Yeah, fun, crazy. People were coming to us. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but at the time it was great. But people were finding out about us through word of mouth and finding out about us from all over the world. We were getting clients from all over Europe. We were getting clients from South America, from Africa, even from just everywhere. And we were servicing associations, nonprofit organizations, even some big names, especially one society in particular, IEEE, they're a big engineering society. They found us and came to us and were saying, I need a conference to host, hundreds of people in 20 different breakout rooms, or I need to do this global summit. We had one with like 50 breakout rooms. We had breakout rooms on Qiqo before Zoom enabled breakout rooms. And that was really why we stood out at the time. Yeah.
Ah,
So we were getting clients from all over. We were doing career fairs. We were doing open space technology events, which was a really cool format event. We were doing everything, you name it, networking, happy hours, parties online, comedy events, just everything creative under the sun, because we were able to essentially stitch together and integrate so many different tools and interactive spaces, even different video chat tools that were on the market at the time. A lot of them have, of course, disappeared, but we were just doing a lot of cool integrations, and that's what made it fun.
so it's 2024. You and I, during the prep, talked about how virtual conferences really aren't as popular as they were in 21
Oh, yeah.
or 22 even. So you're making a pivot to something new and different. So tell us about that.
This is fun. I would say this is when times get hard, but times then present you with challenges and opportunities to think through, okay, what's next? How can I stay ahead of the game? And so when the pandemic was subsiding, we anticipated that, of course, it wasn't going to be like that forever, we knew. And business was kind of going down, right? We knew that people were going to go back in person. It's a natural move back to in-person events and conferences. And we always also knew that hybrid events or this idea of remote work was always going to stay as well. So what was the common thread that stayed with that lesson, which was we still need to be a community together. We still need to interact, and we still need to exchange. That exchange could be knowledge, that exchange could be business, that exchange could be recommendations, that exchange could be essentially the essence of what keeps us all connected. And so when we saw the pattern or back to in person, that's when there's got to be a term for this, but when everything kind of recedes and then you see the essence of what's left over, which was some of those core things or core words that I just used, where we notice that on platforms, especially our community platforms, people still need recommendations. Even on Facebook, if you look at Facebook, things like that.
It's all recommendations.
It's all recommendations. You still need to know.
I need a garage door repair company.
Yes, exactly. So recommendations, information, we still need content, but it's just all over the place. And sometimes we do still need to come together and learn from each other and even have meetings together. So the essence of all those moments were what resulted. And we said, okay, how do we pick up those pieces of gold and put it together into one, essentially like a CMS, but we're calling it a marketplace. That's where we're pivoting. We're pivoting from doing these online events that really brought all this great stuff together and bringing community together. And now we've really focused on the essence of why communities want to connect, which is for that whole exchange. All these different channel partners, all these different members of a community, all these different association member types, they need to still come together to get recommendations, really solid content, really get innovative information about what's happening and trending in their industry, and also make it easy for people to have a place or a repository for all this information to go in one spot.
Okay, so let's get specific, right? So you've created a new marketplace platform and you launched the association marketplace. Tell us about that. How does that work? I mean, I know my company is participating. What's the vision behind it?
Yes. So we have created the association marketplace for folks like ourselves to be able to talk about what we do as a business to association executives who run their own associations. And the idea is to use that as an example for other associations to say, "Ooh, how can I create my own association marketplace and white label it for their industry partners, their association members, their staff members, and create their own industry-wide marketplace that's focused on the businesses that service them and all the content that those members want to see in one spot."
So, Sandra, is it like a buyer's guide, but on steroids? How is it different from a buyer's guide or a directory?
Yes, those are the words that we use. It's either next gen buyer's guide. You took the words out of my mouth, buyer's guide on steroids. But that's the next level of the future of what we see as both marketing and bringing business information together.
So you're essentially in startup mode again.
Yes.
In product development and telling the world about this new product. So what's that like and what does it do to the culture?
Great question. So, what it does to the culture is actually, I'll refer back to the days of me being a landscape architect. I love research. I love to research human patterns and behavior. Folks might not know that about landscape architecture, about design, but we're designing for the environment. We're creating circulation. We're creating systems. We're not just working with elements of nature or materials that come from nature, but we're also creating pathways for people to connect. And in order to do that, we have to do research and understand patterns and what's happening and how people want to experience the world. And so I put that hat back on and realizing what was happening with online events and with communities, and especially with industry specific communities, is that we were searching. Again, I use the words recommendations. We were searching for how to compare information to say, oh, what does this platform do? And how is it different from that platform? Or even consultants. There are so many consultants that provide amazing services, but it's really still hard to know, well, how do I know if I need a strategic consultant who does, strategic plans, or a consultant that can help me with my AMS services, or a consultant that even helps me with marketing and emails, et cetera. So all of this information and stuff is out there. And so that's what happens in research. You kind of go, where are people getting this information? And then how, as a designer, someone that can see all these patterns, how can I bring it together and make these connections so that the experience is simpler, it's more enjoyable, it's positive, and it's useful, and it's valuable, and it really just helps us all do our work better?
Well, let me ask you another question as a follow-up. So at Matrix Group, where, I tell the staff that every 3 to 4 years we have to reinvent the company in order to stay relevant, but also to stay fresh in terms of our offerings. And I'll tell you, when we go into that mode, it's exciting and it's hard.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you don't have the playbook of the things you have become accustomed to doing. And you're not quite sure if there's going to be a market for it. And you try to stay close to your customers. But it is hard because, everything is new and different. And sometimes the skill sets are different that you need to do the new things. Like when we went all cloud, that was a completely different set of services. And I'll be candid and tell you that with some of my staff, they're super, super excited because it's the new and shiny. And then there are some staff who get nervous.
Mm.
What's that been like at Qiqo?
Yeah, I would say maybe because we are always excited about making things better for the world. I think that's what drives us, whether it be through technology, whether it be through design, whether it be through a user experience. We're solving problems. So I think that when you're in the modality of helping and serving other people solve their problems, that culture will always be rich, right? Because you're helping to solve someone's pain points. So I would say that that's been the most rewarding, or that makes the cultural experience at Qiqo. Even through this major pivot, we weren't just doing something because we thought it was always a great idea. We were following certain problem sets that were occurring and arising and going, oh, this is a problem. It's not just our problem, it's many people's problems. And how can we be a part of the solution? And I think just that alone, as long as you know that you're solving a community's problem, and it's not just one community's unique problem, and it can be multiplied over and over again, that is where the change becomes embraced. And I would say the steps to take to make those changes or to solve that problem are accepted by all the team players that we've been working with. So I would say we've experienced less of any maybe hurdles or fear, I would say, of achieving change, and more excitement because we know we're solving these pain points.
Sandra, although you're still in the community space, it is a completely different offering. And that requires kind of a rebranding of the company or a new marketing effort for your new product. What's that been like? Because people know you as one thing and now they have to know you as something different. And I find that clients kind of know you for one thing and they don't really ever know everything that you do. What's the challenge there?
That one's good too. I would say the challenge is that we needed to be as direct as possible. I come from also a marketing background. Before I became a landscape architect, I was in marketing in the beauty industry. I was also in marketing in merchant services. So I had a whole slew of experiences that allowed me to see, what does B2B marketing look like? What does B2C marketing look like? What does product marketing look like? And branding. What is branding? How do you brand yourself? And so I've become accustomed to knowing that positioning yourself, positioning your brand, your product, so that it speaks to your target audience is the most important. So you have to kind of get outside your own self and embody this brand. And so that was the exercise, I think, is positioning. How do you best position the thing that you're doing or the thing that you're building so that it's obvious, right? It's simple and obvious to people. I think if you accomplish those things first and foremost, you resolve yourself from confusing folks about, oh, well, we're still the same company and we do this and that. I think that stuff kind of comes through naturally.
And that is easier said than done, though.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe because I'm now on the other side of it all, but
Yeah.
I think I just always focus on knowing, okay, we're creating this new product. It has to speak to trade associations. It has to be super simple. It has to convey a really simple concept, but it's actually a really complex network that we're bringing together. We're bringing buyers and sellers together. We're also bringing the association identity together. And so I would say that, when you realize who are your players, who are the people that you're serving, and you just go, how do I speak to them simply and in the most direct way, right? It's as simple as saying, we're a marketplace. I'm not trying to say, we're Qiqo and we do this and this and that. The product is, it's a marketplace. It's the association marketplace.
So you've found the essence of the product and then you really hone in on that message so that it's very, very clear.
Yeah.
Sandra, it's 2024. We're post-pandemic, at least I think we are, although there seems to be an uptick in COVID because I've had a rash of COVID among my staff. Thankfully, no one's really sick. What are you thinking are some of the lasting effects of the pandemic on community and associations? What changes do you think are here forever? Like, how have we changed?
I think we've changed for the better. I'll say this. I remember when the pandemic hit and I was just beginning to try to get, so crazy to say this, to get out there online and meet people.
Because you were like trapped in your house all day and you wanted to meet people.
Yeah, because we're all trapped, right? And also I was, of course, a couple of years younger. I was still fresh as this business person. I couldn't really yet call myself a founder or business owner. I was still like this professional trying to figure out my way and networking. What does networking mean? How do I meet people? How do I talk to people, without sounding like an idiot or feeling like one and feeling vulnerable? But what I will never forget, the feeling of, oh my gosh, Joanna, doors started to open because we were online, because Zoom enabled that, because tools like video chat tools could allow us to easily go, yeah, I'll set up a meeting with you. It's so much easier than driving an hour into the city, finding parking, and then going, what building is this in? Oh my gosh, am I dressed right? Who am I meeting? Am I going to be in my best self for this particular meeting? Things just not only got easier to get through people's doors, I think it broke down so many barriers. And especially as a female, a minority, an Asian American, you have these other things in society, in the professional world, that just do push you back. It deters you from being able to be this full professional self that you want to be, that you can be. But that's what I do believe the pandemic allowed us, is to break down certain barriers. Nothing's perfect, of course, but people can now meet each other much more easily. And I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah, I am too. I think in the past, maybe some relationships would never have happened because we couldn't meet in person. It was never convenient. You didn't have the time or they were too far away. I mean, look at this. You're in New York. I'm in Alexandria. And we're having a lovely chat.
Exactly.
Sandra, what are you excited about in 2024?
I'm excited about technology. And this is totally selfish of me, of course, because we're working on this cool product. But I'm excited about a new way of thinking that's more integrated. And I say this because all the channels in which we operate, there are a million channels that we have to kind of keep up with, that we're running a ragged on. There's like email channels, there's social media platforms, and there's like a gajillion of them. And then you got to figure out what's the culture on each one. There's different relationships you have to build. There's so many different channels in which to communicate and market that the pace has gone frenetic. And of course, let's not even get into the whole AI conversation. But if you were to take all that into account, I think it's driving us all bonkers. And I feel like there is this right moment right now where those who are thinking smart and go, okay, now is a time to bring it all back together and to use technology to make it simpler, to integrate things more, to make things simpler. We're now moving forward into these network effects, right? The networks are where we need to be, where we need to work and operate. We can't work in these silos. We can't work in siloed platforms. All of our energy and marketing and communications is just becoming diluted. So I think the trend in 2024 and beyond is really thinking wisely about how we design technology, utilize technology so that the networks are coming into much more simple, integrated platforms.
Yeah. I think what I'm hearing from you is there's a recurring theme of community in your career. And I think you're also saying, certainly for associations, be the network.
Yes.
Be the place where people gather so they don't have to find their people everywhere else. Come to this community and you don't have to find them on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram because they're here in our marketplace or they're here in our community is what I'm hearing from you.
Absolutely. I love that you helped to synthesize it for me too. Yes, be the community.
Yeah.
Be the place. And it doesn't have to be siloed. It could be all integrated together. Everyone's energy, marketing, communications, events, everything can be synthesized, one easy place. And then you also create your own place, just like we have our own offices, our own headquarters, right? Associations have their own headquarters. Well, what if you were to embody that whole idea into one community platform that allows for so many different types of interactions? And so, yes, be that community, be the one place, the one marketplace.
Yeah, I'm excited about creating community and going beyond just the tech, but going beyond how do you create culture and emotion in a community through the tech? Because in person, we think about what's the user experience and what's the feeling that you get when you visit an office or when you go to a conference, but how do we create that feeling of a different type of community that has its own personality online? I'm excited about that. Are you excited about that?
I'm super stoked. I mean, there's so much opportunity. I think I'm just running too fast because I love thinking of cool ideas and I think in like multicolor. So yes, I'm excited.
Okay, so what's your color?
Ooh,
I'm purple.
I know.
Everyone knows I'm purple.
I knew that. And I was like, I got to sound a little different. And I have to thank Canva for this because I'm now like a 4-year user of Canva. And they did this cute little video for me saying it was my 4-year anniversary. And my most used color is violet.
Oh, good job.
So you're purple, I'm violet.
Kindred spirit.
Yes.
Well, Sandra, this was terrific, exciting, and good luck on this new endeavor. Thanks for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Joanna. And I always love chatting with you. You're a superstar in your own ways. And I just enjoyed this very much. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Associations Thrive. We're so glad to have you here. My personal mission and the mission of my company, Matrix Group International, is to help associations and nonprofits increase membership, generate revenue, and thrive in the digital space. I want to hear stories of how your organization is thriving in today's challenging landscape. Please apply to be on my show by going to podcast.matrixgroup.net. By the way, do you need help with a digital initiative? Maybe it's a website redesign, a new membership database, or a hybrid meeting that you're planning. I'd love to connect with you. Please visit the Matrix Group website at matrixgroup.net. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode of Associations Thrive. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a 5-star rating, post a comment, and share it with your colleagues and friends. Bye!